The NBA draft is in 5 days, and there's so many rumors flowing around about who's going to take who's going to do what. This guy's going here. He's got a promise. They made a promise to him. X and X, whatever, blah, 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 blah. There's no way anybody actually knows what's going to happen. But I'm going to put my knowledge to the test, put my own mock draft out there. I've done 3 already. This is the 4th one, and it will be the final one before the draft. So I appreciate you all of the love and everything you guys gave me on the last 3. Let's try and do that with this one as well. This one is also going to include trades, so it should be a lot of fun. But before we get into the mock draft, please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. At 2,000 subscribers, I will be doing a giveaway. We're less than 200 subscribers away, so please help me out. That would be greatly appreciated. Also, like the video, turn on the post notifications, and then in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts, because that definitely helps out the channel, and I just want to hear you guys have to say, because your opinions are just as valid as mine. So go ahead and do that. That is all greatly appreciated, but now let's go ahead and let's get into it. All right, and we already have a trade at the first overall pick. The Charlotte Hornets are trading up. They are trading pick number 3 and PJ Washington for Jake Layman and pick number 1. And with the first pick in the 2020 NBA draft, I have the Charlotte Hornets selecting James Wiseman. Now, James Wiseman has an NBA-ready frame. He's a very solid defender, and I think he projects to be a good defender at the next level as well. Problems that I see with him is that he doesn't create too much offense, and he has some lapses in judgment when he's playing out in the court. But overall, a really good rim running center who can step out and shoot the ball a little bit. I don't know how good he's going to be as a shooter, but definitely will be okay and should progress to being a good shooter in the next level. But overall, I think that he's a pretty safe bet for Charlotte here. They need some rim protection, and James Wiseman can definitely provide them that. So that's why I have him going number 1. With the second pick in the 2020 NBA draft, I have the Golden State Warriors selecting LaMelo Ball. Now, LaMelo Ball, he's known for his playmaking. His vision is really good. And also coupling that with the 6'7" frame is just ridiculous. He should provide a lot of high-level playmaking for the Warriors. And I know they don't necessarily need that, but I think they're betting on him being the best player available, maybe showcasing him a bit, and then trying to trade him away later on, kind of how they did with D'Angelo Russell after the Kevin Durant sign-and-trade situation. The problems I see with LaMelo Ball is his form is really broken. Something with that shot form just doesn't look right, and he definitely needs to improve that if he wants to be a consistent three-point shooter at the next level. But I think he has some good touch. He finds his shots well. His decision-making on the shooting needs a little bit of help as well, but I don't think that's gonna be too concerning at the next level, especially if he's in the Warrior system. But he is not a great defender, but he has some length that's gonna help him a little bit. But I think he really has to, buy into a defensive scheme and system, and hopefully maybe the length and everything helps him out. But I don't necessarily think he's going to be a plus defender, at least not for a long time in the NBA. Nothing near Lonzo's level anyway. With the third pick in the 2020 NBA draft, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves selecting Anthony Edwards. Now, the Timberwolves, like I said before, are making a hypothetical trade and dropping back to number 3, and I'm sure they might even look to trade this pick as well, but if they're standing pat at 3, Anthony Edwards, best player available left on the board. Basically, Anthony Edwards is one of the top guys they would have taken at number 1 anyways. Now they pick up PJ Washington and still can pick him up at number 3, which is just a great move all around. I think that Anthony Edwards has a great build for the NBA. He's really bulky. He's super athletic as well. I would say he has elite athleticism, which bodes well for NBA players. There's some Wiggins comparisons. People are a little bit worried, and I get those, but I think you just got to bet on him and bet on him being a good player. Some knocks I do have on him, though, is that he's just a lackluster defender. He doesn't show you much consistency, and that's kind of concerning. And he doesn't show that much effort on that side of the ball, and sometimes offensively as well. Plus, his shot selection's not that good. But at the end of the day, he's just built for the league. I don't think he was meant to play college basketball. I think he's an NBA-type player. I think he should be pretty good. Will he hit his ceiling? I don't know. But I think you take the bet on him there and hope that he does. With the fourth pick in the 2020 NBA draft, I have the Chicago Bulls selecting Deni Avdija. Now, Avdija has a really solid build for the NBA. He's 6'9", he has a good handle, and he can pass the ball well. The things I see that are kind of a knock on him is he doesn't do one thing necessarily at an NBA level right now. He's not a great passer. He's not a great shooter. He's not a great defender. He's just pretty much solid all around. I think he is also a poor free throw shooter, which kind of, there's some arguments to be had there of whether he's good or not. His stats-wise has not been good. And then he's in between a 3 and a 4 defensively, which I think kind of is a problem. He's a little too small to guard some of the bigger 4s in the NBA, and he's a little too slow to guard some of the quicker 3s in the NBA. Offensively, I don't think it's a problem to be in between positions, but defensively, I think he's going to need some help. But overall, I think he's going to fit Chicago really nicely. He's maybe the best player available at this point, and he doesn't hurt them defensively because they're not a great defensive team anyways. So that's why I have him going 4th overall. With the 5th pick in the 2020 NBA draft, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers selecting Obi Toppin. Now, Obi Toppin is a great offensive player. He can score at all 3 levels, and he has elite athleticism as well. I think, there's a reason the guy was the top player in college basketball last season and won the National Player of the Year award. But I think that his defense is the more concerning thing. I think he's going to get pushed around down low, and especially on the perimeter. And I get it. I think it's a little overblown that centers have to be able to switch down and guard guards. It's nice if they can be Bam Adebayo, but there's nothing wrong with being Rudy Gobert. The problem is Obi Toppin isn't Rudy Gobert either. I think he might be okay down low at points, but I think he's going to get pushed around. His lower body just doesn't have that strength. And he can't move his hips to turn to guard in space. But if he's down low, he might be able to hold his own at times. But offensively, you just have to bet on that offensive talent. If you're Cleveland, you just go all in. You try and get the best player available. And I think that's Obi Toppin if you're talking about offensively. And they just need to shoot for the stars in Cleveland. So I think that's why they should take Obi Toppin. With the 6th pick in the 2020 NBA draft, I have the Atlanta Hawks selecting Isaac Okoro. Now, Okoro is a 2/3. He's a really good defender. He could possibly be the best defender in this class. And he's also a really good passer. He drives to the rim really well. He basically does everything really well, except he's not a great shooter. And, he's probably been working on his form. He's been working on his shots since college basketball ended. But you can't fix everything in just a few months. But I'm sure he is improving, and if he does improve, I think he could end up being the best player in this draft class. He's just a great all-around player, and I think for Atlanta, pairing him next to Trae Young, who's not a good defender, it would definitely help Trae Young quite a bit, and, Trae Young could get the ball out of his hands a little bit, and it creates more space with Isaac Okoro being a good passer as well. So I definitely think that Trae Young, Isaac Okoro is a good fit there, and I think that's who Atlanta should take at pick 6 if he's available. We have another trade. The Boston Celtics are trading picks 14, 26, and 30 with Detroit to trade up to pick number 7. With the 7th pick in the 2020 NBA draft, the Boston Celtics are selecting Onyeka Okongwu. So everybody's saying that the Celtics need to get a center, and I think Onyeka Okongwu is the best center on the board outside of James Wiseman, and Wiseman obviously went 1 to the Hornets. Now, Boston doesn't necessarily need 3 draft picks to come in, so they could trade those all the way, trade up, get a center that fits their team really well in Onyeka Okongwu. He's a switchable defender, 1 through 5. He can guard pretty much anybody on the court. He has a good handle. The problems I see in his game is he can't shoot the ball. He never shown to shoot the ball at all. Maybe that develops a little bit in the NBA, but definitely not the first few years at least. And he chases blocks defensively, which can sometimes put him into bad spots. But I think a lot of coaching can, limit much of that, and I think he will be a really good defender. I think he could be close to an elite defender by the time he comes into the NBA. He's just that versatile. Defensively, maybe like a Bam Adebayo. Offensively, I don't think he's going to be like that. I think he's going to finish around the rim well, but he's not going to have the passing that Bam does, and he's never going to be able to shoot. I guess Bam can't do that either. But overall, I think that's a good center for Boston to have, and if they're willing to trade up and get him, I think they definitely should do that. With the 8th pick in the 2020 NBA draft, I have the New York Knicks selecting Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes is a really good point guard coming over from France. He's actually higher up on my big board than he is in this draft, but I think he fits New York well. They can get a solid point guard to run the show, and this is obviously, of course, if they don't trade for like a Russell Westbrook. But Killian Hayes is just a strong playmaker. He's super creative in the pick and roll. He's a solid shooter, and I think he's a pretty good defender, actually. He at least competes on defense, and he gives effort, which goes a long way. He has a little bit of length. He's 6'5" with a longer wingspan. I think that is going to help him on that side of the floor as well. Though I do see him struggling to go right. He pretty much limits himself to playing left-handed because he is a left-handed player. And that's going to limit him some offensively, but I think his passing is creative enough to not put him in too many tough spots. And he's also limited athletically, which, again, Not the end of the world, but you definitely want him to be a good athlete if possible. But he is so creative that I don't think that matters too much, and I think he's going to be a solid point guard in the NBA. The Knicks just go out and get a point guard. They're not going to get LaMelo Ball unless they're trading up for him. So the hope is Killian Hayes can end up being just as good, if not better, than LaMelo Ball. With the 9th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the Washington Wizards are selecting Devin Vassell. Devin Vassell is a really solid shooter and wing defender. I mean, he's like the prototypical 3-and-D prospect. He has really, really good length. The problems that I see with him is that he's kind of a limited athlete. He lacks some of that burst and that high-level top-end athleticism, and he has a thin and wiry frame that he needs to add some muscle to, but I think he could be a really impactful defender day one in the NBA, and I think pairing him next to Bradley Beal and John Wall would work out really well. You have good defense with Wall and with Devin Vassell. That's definitely going to help Bradley Beal on that side of the ball. And Beal and Wall can get Vassell the ball on offense where he doesn't have to create too much. I think it would work out really well for the Wizards if they just go ahead and draft Devin Vassell. With the 10th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the Phoenix Suns are selecting Tyrese Halliburton. Now, Halliburton is a guard out of Iowa State, and he has some good length. The problem with him is I don't think that he's going to be that good of a shooter, and he lacks some of that athleticism. He's a solid playmaker. He's okay on defense because he has that length, but I think he is a little bit, has too high of a center of gravity. That's going to limit him some, but the length should make up for some of that. But overall, I think he's just going to be a good point guard to put next to Devin Booker. He can learn from Ricky Rubio over the course of the next year, and I think he could be their starting point guard going into the next season. Maybe not his rookie year, but the year after that. And I think Tyrese Halliburton has a pretty decently high floor. You kind of know what you're going to get with him, and I think that he would fit well in Phoenix. With the 11th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, I have the San Antonio Spurs selecting Patrick Williams. Now, Patrick Williams is labeled as a wing, but I see him more as a 4 in all honesty. Super strong and mobile defender, and he's one of the youngest players in this class. He might actually end up being a solid shooter at the next level, but the problem is his shot form is pretty inconsistent, and he just doesn't have a clear position in the NBA. I've seen him anywhere from a shooting guard to a power forward. I think he's going to play 4 and some small ball center as well. But I think if anybody can develop someone like that, it's the Spurs. They did it with Kawhi Leonard, and I think they could get some of that development with Patrick Williams. Is he going to be Kawhi Leonard? No, probably not. But if he can be even a much better player than he is right now, he's going to be a really good defender in the next level, and if he can shoot the ball some, that's going to be a really, really impactful player in the NBA. With the 12th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, I have the Sacramento Kings selecting Aaron Nesmith. Now, Aaron Nesmith is an elite shooter. Elite shooter. He's going to come into the NBA and be a really, really good shooter. He's also very decisive when he drives to the basket. A lot of times when you see these shooters, they're kind of soft going to the basket, and they try to avoid contact. Aaron Nesmith does not do that. He drives hard to the basket, he's decisive, he passes when he needs to, and he gets to the bucket when he needs to, and I think that's really important. Problems that I see from him, he's not a great shot creator. He has to have some people create shots for him, but he gets to his spots well, and I think that is very, very important at his position. And he also lacks some defensive fundamentals. I think he tries relatively hard. I think he might be serviceable as a defender, but he lacks some of those key fundamentals when you're talking about not getting back in your heels, moving along with your man. He lacks some of that. But offensively, he's going to be a really good knockdown shooter, and I think that's going to be really good for someone like Sacramento, who might be, getting rid of Buddy Hield, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and all these other players. So I think they just take the shot, hope that he becomes a good defender, and bank on that shot. And I think it's going to work out well for the Kings if they take Nesmith at 12. With the 13th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, I have the New Orleans Pelicans selecting Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey is a guard out of Kentucky, and Kentucky guards just are really good, man. PKP, pick Kentucky players. People say that all the time. I don't know if it's just a Timberwolves Twitter thing or if it's an NBA Twitter thing, but Kentucky players are good in the NBA. I mean, obviously there's plenty of, outliers, but you think about it, like Devin Booker didn't even start in college. Really good. Jamal Murray is a really good Kentucky guard. And then you look at De'Aaron Fox, a really good Kentucky guard. Plus other positions. You have Karl-Anthony Towns, a really good Kentucky player. DeMarcus Cousins. So bet on the Kentucky players. Bet on John Calipari knowing what he's doing, especially the young guards, because they are really good. Tyler Hero, another example. But anyways, Tyrese Maxey, he's a physical defender and he gives good effort on that side of the ball. Plus, his pick and roll offense is actually really good. The bad stuff, he has a good shooting form, but the results weren't that good. Shot less than 30% in college. I think those numbers go up a little bit in the NBA. He'll get more open shots. He'll be a little bit less contested every time he shoots. But he also doesn't have the best shot selection. He forced some contested shots, but maybe that had to do with him trying to be the best player on a team rather than just being a complementary piece like he will be in the NBA. If he can be a solid shooter, that'll help space out the floor on that Pelicans team, which we know Zion is going to need. With the 14th pick in the 2020 NBA draft, I have the Detroit Pistons selecting Cole Anthony. Now, this is the first pick that the Pistons have of the three that they traded for with Boston. And Cole Anthony is just a really, really versatile scorer. He's also active on the ball defensively. He's not the best defender, but at least he's out there trying. The negatives I see is that he takes a lot of bad shots in college. Does that transfer to the NBA? I don't know. The UNC team he was on was just absolutely trash, and he needed to take a lot of shots if they wanted to win games. And he's not also a pure playmaker by any sort of the imagination. He doesn't have playmaking skills like that, but he's an okay playmaker. But I think, he was one of the top ranked players coming out of high school, and that's for good reason. He's a really good athlete. He's just a baller, and I think that you take the shot with him, hope that he becomes a top 5 player in this draft, which he very well could be. He was a top 5 player coming out of high school. Maybe he wasn't meant to go to college, and he should have just been able to go straight to the NBA. Maybe he's just an NBA player. Cole Anthony, you bet on the upside if you're Detroit. You get a solid player with a lot of potential and a very high ceiling, though the floor might not be that high. The ceiling is incredibly high with Cole Anthony, and if it works out, Detroit will put themselves in a much better spot than they are right now. So now the lottery is done, and I am just going to run through picks 15 through 30. For these picks, all I'm going to do is simply say the player's name and which team is drafting them. With the 15th pick, the Orlando Magic are drafting R.J. Hampton. With the 16th pick, the Portland Trailblazers are selecting Precious Achiuwa. With the 17th pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves are selecting Saddiq Bey. With the 18th pick, the Dallas Mavericks are selecting Desmond Bane. With the 19th pick, the Brooklyn Nets are selecting Jalen Smith. With the 20th pick, the Miami Heat are selecting Kira Lewis Jr. With the 21st pick, the Philadelphia 76ers are selecting Josh Green. With the 22nd pick, the Denver Nuggets are selecting Tyrell Terry. The 23rd pick, the Utah Jazz are selecting Isaiah Stewart. With the 24th pick, the Milwaukee Bucks are selecting Theo Maledon. With the 25th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder are selecting Jaden McDaniels. With the 26th pick, the Detroit Pistons are selecting Aleksej Pokusevski. With the 27th pick, the New York Knicks are selecting Grant Riller. With the 28th pick, the Los Angeles Lakers are selecting Peyton Pritchard. With the 29th pick, the Toronto Raptors are selecting Trey Jones. And with the 30th pick, the Detroit Pistons are selecting Elijah Hughes. So that's going to do it for my NBA Mock Draft 4.0. Let me know what you guys thought of the trades. Let me know what you guys thought of the selections. I thought everything actually turned out pretty well, but again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done that already. I really do appreciate all the support. But thanks again so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.